my name is Emma, and today I'm giving you guys my December and January reading wrap-up. As I previously stated in the combined haul that I just recently posted, I have been really messed up with my uploading schedule for the past 2 months. In December, I had 5 billion videos that I wanted to edit and film for the rest of the year, and I still haven't even gotten to all of those videos. And then in January, the BiblioBook came, and my reading schedule, or my uploading schedule, is still messed up. And so I know that my wrap-ups and hauls are normally combined, but I figured it was just easier to combine the months and then separate them, so you're getting the wrap-up today. In December, I read 3 books. I found this really funny because last December, I also only read 3 books. I'd like to think my average on a month is somewhere around like 5 to 7 books. And so it's just funny to me that in December, for the last 2 years, I've only read 3. So let's start with that wrap-up. The first book I read in December of 2015 was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. I try and read Harry Potter once every year, and so at the end, in like November or October, one of the later months of 2015, I finished my reading challenge, which was a big accomplishment for me. So I was like, hey, I haven't read Harry Potter yet this year. Let's reward myself with a reread of one of my all-time favorite series. I loved rereading this book. I loved rereading the entire series. I can't even put into words how happy it makes me to reread Harry Potter. If you haven't done a reread in a while, I highly recommend it. It's just so nostalgic, and you have so much fun doing it, and it like takes over your life like it did the first time you were reading the books. I love reading Harry Potter for the... How many times have I read this book? Oh my god. I've read Deathly Hallows the least, so I want to say around maybe 10 times I've read this book. It's 5 out of 5 stars all the way through. The next book I read in December of 2015 was The Diviners by Libba Bray. I read this as a part of the BiblioBook Club. It's a book club that I host with all of the other Biannual Bibliothon girls, even though it's not technically related to the Biannual Bibliothon. We have a Goodreads group if you want to check it out. We read 1 book every 3 months, so you guys have time to spread that out along your other book clubs and other reading and other responsibilities. We do have a live show on The Diviners. Not all of us were there, but if you're interested in seeing my thoughts as well as a couple of other hosts, I will link the live show discussion for this book down below. I really enjoyed The Diviners. I think I gave it 4 or 4.5 out of 5 stars. I loved reading about this time period. I'm like really into historical fiction mixed with like a fantasy, paranormal, or sci-fi aspect lately. And so The Diviners was perfect for that. I really loved Evie. I just thought the plot was so concrete and so fantastic. My main problem with the book was that there are like 15 different perspectives, and I really hate reading from books that have more than like 2 or 3. So while I wasn't a fan of the perspectives, the actual plot and content of the book were wonderful. I had such a great time reading it. I'm so happy I finally got around to reading The Diviners because I've been putting it off for like 2 years. This book was fantastic. I'm so excited to read, or I might actually listen to Layer of Dreams. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do yet. But I definitely want to get around to reading the sequel to this book very soon. And then the final book that I read in 2015 was Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. I have a full review on Passenger. If you've read it and you want to check out that review, I will link it below. I was sent a copy of this from Disney Hyperion a couple months ago, so thanks so much Disney Hyperion, because I absolutely loved Passenger. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was such a fantastic read for me. My main problems in this book was that I felt that it was very insta-lovey, but I'm kind of used to it from reading YA now, so I try not to complain too much about it because it's kind of expected with the genre. I also felt that in some parts of the book it really dragged, but other than that, I loved everything about this book. The world was beautiful, the writing was way more sophisticated than all of the other Alexandra Bracken books I've read, so I loved that aspect of it. I just thought it was so entertaining, and it made me so anticipate Wayfarer. Oh my god, I cannot remember the last time I needed a sequel in my life so badly. I had such a great time reading this book. If you haven't read Passenger yet, I really recommend it. I've heard some mixed reviews, but from my personal reading style, I really loved Passenger. Now let's move on to January. So I actually ended up reading 11 books in January, which is a big deal for me, but I can kind of understand it because the Biannual Bibliothon happened. I read 7 books during the Biannual Bibliothon, which was the first full week of January, and these are the 7 books that I read, and if you're interested in hearing me talk more about them, I already have a wrap-up for all 7 of these books, so I'm not going to go through them now. But generally, I really enjoyed everything that I read this week, and I'm really happy I finally got around to picking up a lot of these books. So if you're interested, I definitely would check out that Buy a New Bibliothon wrap-up. That's going to be linked in the description. So that knocks out the majority of my January reading. The next book I read in January was New World Rising by Jennifer Wilson. I was sent a digital copy of this book in exchange for an honest review, and that review has already been posted. So firstly, thanks so much Thorns for sending me a copy of this book, and secondly, the review for this book is totally spoiler-free, so you don't have to read the book to watch it, and if you want to check out that review, it's going to be in the description along with all the other videos that I've been talking about. I really enjoyed New World Rising. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm really shocked at how much I liked it, because I was kind of expecting it to be like just one of those books that you kind of go through the motions with, and you read it because somebody sends it to you, or you read it because you heard a lot of things about it, but I really enjoyed it. I wasn't bored at any point in this book, so it was really awesome to read another book that was just like constant action and constant interest. I really loved all of the characters in this book. The world is so awesome, and it also gave me a lot of nostalgia towards reading dystopians. When I first started BookTube, I read a ton of dystopians. It was like all I read was like The Hunger Games and Divergent and The Darkest Minds and Legend, and all of those books gave me this certain feeling of nostalgia that I get when I read books like New World Rising. So firstly, if you enjoy dystopians, and secondly, if you enjoy books that kind of evoke those feelings in you that remind you not of the plot of other books, but of the feelings you got while reading other books similar to it, I really recommend New World Rising. The next book that I read in January is Book At Us Now, written by the Midnight Beast. I actually forgot to haul this, I'm pretty sure, which I'm very upset about because I was so excited to get this book. I legitimately almost spent like $50 to have it with one-day shipping from Amazon, just because I couldn't wait for it from Book Depository, but it did wait, and it was well worth the wait. I feel like a lot of people don't know the Midnight Beast, especially because their fan base is mostly in the United Kingdom, and also they're just not the most popular group out there, but I love the Midnight Beast with like a deep, burning passion. They're a London-based music group that kind of combine pop, rap, and comedy, and so all of their music is so funny, but it's also like really good music in my opinion. I've actually been following them since they first started and posted their first video like 6 years ago, and then I kind of forgot about them for a while. But now I just recently rediscovered their channel, and all I do is listen to the Midnight Beast, and so I found out they have a book, and I was like, this was made for me. So it's not like a novel, it's just like a book where they talk about their lives and stories and how they met and about them like being on tour and stuff, and there's like some like funny pages. So I really enjoyed this book because I feel like I've been following these guys for so long, but there's so much I don't know about them. I learned so much about the stories of how they met and the stories of how the Midnight Beast actually came to be, and there's specific facts about each of the members who I all love so deeply. So while I obviously love fiction novels more than like any other kind of books, it's so great to find a book that is centered around someone or a group of people that you really love that's just about their lives and you get to know more about them, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I mostly listened to on audiobook was hello, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And oh my god, I had no idea how much I would love this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. By far this year, it's definitely, if not my very first favorite read, my second, or it's very high up already with all the books that I've read in January. I'm really surprised too because I'm not the biggest fan of the Throne of Glass series. I really enjoyed the first one, and then progressively up to Hair of Fire is as far as I've gotten. I wasn't as crazy about them, but now I'm convinced that Throne of Glass just wasn't for me because I loved A Court of Thorns and Roses so much. This is another book where all I'm doing is just thinking about it and thinking about the sequel and thinking about how much I love it and how much more I want from it. Oh my god, it was so good. I'm so happy I read it. I'm so happy I listened to it on audiobook too, because the audiobook for this, in my opinion, was really enjoyable. I really liked the narrator, and I just really liked the different voices. I just love everything about this book. I don't think I have a negative thing to say. I really enjoyed everything about it. The next book that I finished in January was Illuminate by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. This is actually an arc that I got at BookCon last May, and I just never got around to reading it. But me and Michael Bookline were supposed to buddy read it, and then he read it like 2 weeks before I even started it. So it didn't really work out, but I really loved Illuminate. It's another book that I gave 5 out of 5 stars. I was very wary about reading from a book with a very unconventional format at first. Already I kind of had the stigma against books that are told from multiple perspectives, so how am I going to deal with a book that is told from like interviews and IM messages and emails and like video surveillance transcripts. There was so much that was so different about this book that I was terrified to read it, but I ended up loving it. This story took me by storm. I was really confused at first and I wasn't crazy about it, but I got to like the halfway point of the book and it really picked up for me. I just had so much fun reading it, and like I like died at the end, and I'm like so excited for the sequel. There's so many books that I read in the past 2 months that I'm so excited for the sequels of that weren't on my most anticipated sequels of the next year, and like, what? How did I not read these books yet? I loved Illuminate. It was fantastic, and I'm so happy I read it. So that is it for my December and January wrap-up. I read some really fantastic books in the past 2 months, and I really hope you guys enjoyed all of the books that you have read in the past 2 months. Please, as always, leave me a comment below talking about any of the books that were mentioned in this video, if you've read them and what your opinions are on them, or if there was a favorite book that you read in your past 2 months. I would love to know. That is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!